085 6060 973.
Let's just fill in some of the emails, texts and tweets that have come in concerning overseas travel. Hugh in Battersea: I have 3 workers returning from Qatar. They've all been jabbed and had tests on the way out, spent a week in quarantine hotel on arrival, have to do a PCR test on their return, then spend 10 days in a Heathrow hotel at £1,750 per person. It is a disgrace when the rooms and meals normally cost £80 per night. On the same subject, this idea of people starting to travel again, Mark says, I don't want to see an influx of airports being overcrowded once the travel corridor is open. We also talked a little bit, of course, about these upcoming local elections. We've only got another day and a bit that we can talk about that because, of course, on Thursday we have to stop. We had an interview with Sir Keir Starmer. Dawn in Kent says he was wrong. Chasing someone over wallpaper when the country faces far greater things is beyond me. Boris Johnson and leaders before him from other parties have all had supports and perks. It won't change. How much did Tony Blair spend of taxpayers' money doing up Chequers? Same subject. Graham says Sir Keir is wrong about this. I don't think Labour have got this right. What exactly do they stand for? Also, a lot of you talking about the line of duty. Well, we're going to look at this in more detail. Imogen in London, I think you probably echo many people. I appreciate you probably spoke about this yesterday on LBC, but I do intend to go back to it, not least because, and I don't know if I've got the strength or even the patience, they are now talking about a fresh series. There's even a report that one actor has been booked already. Imogen says it was so disappointing. Was it all worth it? Well, I do think that really, given the extraordinary impetus, it was a bit of a letdown. But that's for later. I'll tell you what's for now. And we touched on this in our review of the newspapers, I think, that we have a trade deal on the way with India. Boris Johnson to host long-delayed bilateral talk with India's Prime Minister today, announcing up to £1 billion in new trade and investment. You will recall Boris Johnson had been due to meet Narendra Modi in Delhi last week, but understandably the visit had to be called off because of the severity of the pandemic. UK has sent India £6 million worth of medical supplies over the past week. More details, though, on the trade side now. International Trade Secretary and Minister for Women and Equalities, Liz Truss, joins me now. Secretary of State, thank you for coming on. Can you put some details on the bones of this story? What sort of trade deal is it? What is it going to benefit? Good morning.
So what we've announced today is $1 billion of investment and exports, which will deliver 6,000 jobs across the United Kingdom, so in places like Rochdale, Newcastle, Derby. So lots of opportunities there. We're also opening up new markets for British medical products into India, British food and drink products into India. And similarly, we're allowing the Indians more access to our market as well. But this is really the tip of the iceberg of what we could achieve in a free trade deal. We're going to start negotiations for the free trade deal this autumn. We currently have 24 billion of trade with India. We want to double that by 2030 and really get some of the tariffs removed on key products like whiskey and cars. So car tariffs are over 100% into India. Whiskey tariffs are over 100%. So we want to get those reduced and removed.
To those who would say this is obviously great news, but the timing is perhaps a little questionable in that the poor souls in India in some instances are having to burn their relatives in their back gardens, how would you respond, Secretary of State?
Well, I completely agree the situation in India is heartbreaking at present, and we are also working very hard to get crucial supplies. We sent over 600 pieces of oxygen equipment. We've got more on the way this week. And of course, India gave us huge help last year when we were short of products like paracetamol. The Indian government expedited delivery to the UK. So I see this as part of a real partnership between our two nations. India is the largest democracy in the world. They're a key ally of the United Kingdom. We want to help them through the appalling situation they're facing with COVID at the moment. And we want to help build back the Indian economy in the same way as we want to build back our economy. And one of the investments we're announcing today, Nick, is more investment from the Serum Institute in India, the vaccine producer, into the UK in areas like research and development. So, yes, it's a very, very tragic situation in India, but what they want is they want our help with oxygen and ventilators. I've got a call later today with my Indian counterpart asking of what more we can do to help, at the same time as moving forward with the trade work. Because, of course, trade helps fix some of these health problems by getting the vaccines that are needed around the world, getting the oxygen products that are needed, getting the pharmaceutical products that are needed. So trade is part of the solution.
OK. How acutely short were we of paracetamol, Secretary of State?
We were in danger of running out of supply at some point last year.
When was that?
I'd have to recall the dates, but we were quite low on supplies.
And
the
why?
Indians were very helpful.
Why was that? Why were people taking so many paracetamol?
Well, what we realised last year is that we were very dependent on a few critical supply chains for key goods. We are now making sure that we have those critical supply chains in place. We've done a lot of work at this under the title of Project Defend to make sure we have those supplies. But the Indian government were very helpful in making sure we retained that security of supply.
Would this deal have been possible were the United Kingdom still in the European Union, Secretary of State?
I don't believe it would have been, no.
Why so?
The fact is that the EU negotiated with India for some time and never got to a conclusion. We can see that other countries successfully negotiated trade deals with India, namely Japan have got a trade deal with India. So it is possible to do, but we need to be flexible, we need to be nimble, and I think we're able to do that now. We're not part of the European Union.
OK, just a couple of other matters while I have you, Secretary of State. Would you be booking a summer holiday this year?
Well, not yet is the answer, Nick. I'm waiting, like everybody else, until the results of the Global Travel Task Force are out to see what the situation is.
Right. So that would be Friday then that we have to wait. Is that correct?
Well, it's shortly, Nick. I can't confirm the precise date, but I can assure people they won't have to wait much longer.
OK. But how important is it, of course, for your role as International Trade Secretary to get Britain able for businessmen and businesswomen to start trading in an international basis again? Liz Truss.
It's very important. You know, there's a certain amount you can achieve on Zoom or Teams, but it is the face-to-face meetings that can really drive business forward. So, of course, we need to do it when it's safe. Of course, we need to have the right procedures in place. But it is incredibly important that we are able to get travel going again. Of course, for trade and business, of course, for people to see their families, and for travel in general.
And just lastly, as a former education minister, how concerned are you that the situation up at the school at Batley, which had to allow the pupils to go home early before the Easter holidays because of protests by some Muslim parents, that has still yet to be resolved, and this particular teacher's career could be blighted? Secretary of State.
Well, I'm not fully au fait with the details of that case, but of course it's incredibly important that we get schools up and running and get them working.
All right, I'm grateful for your time. Liz Truss appearing here on LBC. Thank you. We're at 8 o'clock. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock. Care home residents in England can now leave for low-risk visits without having to isolate for 14 days when they